What is up, guys, and welcome to my review of the new spy thriller, The Amateur. Now, this is a movie that I never watched the full trailer, but I had seen enough of it for it to be on my radar. I tend to really like these types of movies, these mid-budget action, mid-budget thriller type films. I do like Rami Malek. I'm not completely convinced if he has star power, if he's a guy that can lead a bunch of movies, but I really liked his performance as Freddie Mercury, even though it seems like the internet kind of pulled a switcheroo on him. Loved him, won an award, and then everybody hated him. Regardless, this was a film that certainly looked like, if it's a good version of what it's selling, it could absolutely be up my alley. But there's also a lot of movies that have sold me the bill of goods that this film is selling me, and they end up being very conventional, very run-of-the-mill, and very generic. So essentially, the plot of this film is that you've got Rami Malek here, who is basically like a cryptographer for the CIA. He's one of the computer nerds that work in the back while all the spy stuff happens outside. And his wife, played by Rachel Brosnahan, our new Lois Lane, is killed in London. And while he is trying to get his agency that he works for to enact justice on the people that he very easily figured out are at fault for this, they will not. And so he essentially blackmails his bosses at the CIA to train him as an agent so that he can do a one-man mission to kill his wife's murderers. Now, starting off with the positives, I really like that premise. I think it's just cool and just different enough to put a little bit of a spin on a very traditional setup. You know, we have a ton of these types of movies where husband loses a child or husband loses a wife and has to go and enact justice himself. Sometimes it's somebody who has a particular set of skills. Sometimes it's not. It's a regular Joe who realizes that he's just a badass when he goes and does all of this. So having somebody like Rami Malek play the lead really lends itself to having a very non-conventional lead for a movie like this. This isn't a Jason Statham. This isn't a Liam Neeson. You know, this is somebody who has a very unassuming look about him, like the character is designed to be. And he has to use his intellect, and he has to use the little bit of training that he can get to outsmart not only his own agency, but more importantly, the people that he is trying to hunt down. So I think it's a really cool setup for a movie like this that brings a bit of its own flavor to a table that is very much covered with a lot of movies that feel the same.
You recognize her?
If you jump really fast, you might survive the blast.
Right!
And I think Rami Malek does a great job portraying this lead character. I think he's well cast for it. I think that his look and his vibe as an actor fits what they're going for this character. I'm still not completely convinced that he's a movie star, and I don't exactly know why. I think maybe it's because all the roles that I see him really shine at are somebody that has like an eccentricity about them. You know, like this character certainly has some things about him that are a little socially awkward. You got Freddie Mercury, you got Mr. Robot. He's great in roles like that where you have kind of a distinct character, but the roles that I've seen him take where he's kind of more of a traditional person, a traditional character, I don't think he stands out as much. So I don't know. Again, I'm in the positive. I'm not trying to knock the guy, but I think what he does here in this role is good. I think that his emotional anchor of loving his wife and having that grief, he does very good in those scenes. I think that as he starts to gain a little bit of a footing in what he's trying to do, you have that section of the film where he's very much out of his league and he's very nervous and he's up against people that are way more badass than he is. And I think he portrays that side of it well. But eventually, as his confidence starts to grow, as he starts to pick people off of this list, he starts to become a character that's like, you know, I kind of want to see more of this guy. I doubt this movie's going to be successful enough to merit a franchise, but if they ever did, like, I would want to see more out of Rami Malek fucking people up. I think it's interesting. The sections of the movie where we're actually enacting the justice, when we're getting Rami Malek versus one of his wife's killers, I really liked what they did here. You got one of them that's in the trailers where he's threatening a guy who is swimming in this rooftop swimming pool made of glass that if you don't tell me what I want to know, I'm going to press this button and the glass is going to break. And I love that kill in particular because it reminds me so much of Hitman Blood Money. I love that video game series. And so anytime you get a movie like this that seemingly lends a bit of a wink to Hitman fans, whether it's intentional or not, I just love that stuff. But just in general, any of the sequences that we get that are a little more high octane, whether it's a chase sequence, whether it's a fight sequence, whether it's him being kind of his own version of a hitman, I really liked that side of the movie. I also really enjoyed Lawrence Fishburne's character here. Now, I wasn't sure how much of the movie he was going to be in because he's definitely one of those actors sometimes that can just pop up in a movie. And I will say, I wish they utilized him a bit more, but the way that they used him, I still really liked. He's essentially the training operative, the commander that is training Rami Malek, and then is also the one that the CIA is using to basically hunt him down and rein him in after he starts to go after his wife's killers. And I just like the way that him and Rami's relationship are, where he's very much this guy that looks at Rami Malek and is like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, you're way out of your league. You think you're going to be a badass spy. And then all along the way throughout the film, the lead character finds ways to surprise him and finds ways to prove him wrong. And you start to see him kind of shift his view on Rami Malek's character of like, oh, this is a pretty badass dude. Maybe I shouldn't have spoke too soon. Now, as much as I enjoyed this film, as much as I think there's a lot of things about it that are certainly above average comparing to a lot of movies in this specific subgenre, the film does have a lot of issues. And so moving on to the negatives, one of the main ones that really hurts this film a lot is the pacing. This is a film that has all the ingredients to be a really faster paced, a little bit more of a thrilling adventure. And it constantly chooses not to be. It constantly chooses to be more of a slow burn drama. It constantly decides to put like these lulls between the more exciting scenes and focus on things that don't necessarily move the plot forward a whole lot. And I don't even think really do a whole lot to further the character of Rami Malek's Charlie. And so you find yourself, especially in the back half of the film, growing incredibly impatient with the movie, because as soon as things start to kick into high gear and he's taking these people out and you got the CIA as well as this criminal element all kind of trying to figure out who this guy is and trying to converge on him and figure out where he's at and stop him, the movie should keep that pace. But it never does. You have a hit scene, and then you have him kind of chilling and talking with characters and hiding out for a little bit. And you go back to a subplot regarding the CIA, and then 15 minutes later, all of a sudden, we're back in a thrilling sequence again. And so I really feel like they could have edited this movie down, could have taken at least 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes of the more expositionary stuff out of the back half, and you could have had a really solid thrill ride here. I mean, there's subplots in this movie. There's whole characters that don't really amount to much. It's not a spoiler at all to tell you that there's a bit of a corruption thing going on in the CIA, because that shows its head within the first 10 minutes of the film. It's one of the reasons he's able to blackmail his own agency. And so the film constantly will go back to that and try to forward that plot a little bit, when right from the beginning, you know exactly where that plot is going to end by the end of the film. And so there's just not really a whole lot added to the movie to treat that as if it's some kind of actual brewing subplot. And then you got John Bernthal in here, who I love, and was a nice little surprise to see him show up. His character could have been cut out entirely. I don't know why he's in this movie. He walks in for one little scene in the first act of the film, and he pops in like in the last 15 minutes for one more little scene that really don't add to anything. They don't do anything to further this movie at all. So there's just a lot of things like that where it's like, man, get that out of here. Get to the action. Get to the thrills quicker, because my God, this is slow. I also think it's very fair to say, despite this movie's valiant effort to do some things differently, to give us a little bit different of a spin, it's also formulaic. There's a number of things in here that are very much like a lot of other movies that have gone for this same exact plot. There's no surprises in store. There's no twists or turns or anything to really throw you off as an audience member. You can turn this movie on, get the basic setup, and pretty much predict exactly where things are going to go. And sometimes that's fine if you fill it with a lot of really cool, thrilling action or some really gnarly kills or whatever. And as I've already said, this movie has things that entertained me, but it doesn't have enough of it. So then that formulaic nature of the plot starts to show its head a lot more because you're focusing on it a lot more than you should. I also think it was a missed opportunity to not spend more time in the first act really developing the relationship of Rami Malek and his wife, played by Rachel Brosnahan. You really only get one scene with them. You know, she's killed off very quickly in this movie. And it's not that you need to have a lot of that to understand a husband's grief, but they have her come back into the movie through like visions and, you know, Rami Malek basically like picturing or wishing that she was there, that you wish you had more of an emotional attachment to that character. And kind of along those same lines, there is this person that he has a bit of a work relationship with, somebody that kind of feeds him intel that he doesn't know their real name, doesn't know who they are, and eventually they link up in the back half of the film to start getting shit done. And I feel like there wasn't even enough really with his relationship there to grab a hold of. Obviously, I don't want it to be more of a romantic thing. I think that would have been out of place, but there needed to be something more there aside from like, oh, that's what that person looks like. Okay, cool. You know, if you're going to have John Bernthal in this movie, give him that character. You know what I mean? Make him be the reveal. And it's like, oh shit, now Freddie Mercury is teaming up with the Punisher. Fuck yeah, let's go end shit. And so that's yet another kind of missed opportunity for either some cool shit or some genuine emotion, because where things go with that character, it also just kind of felt like a bit of a detour more than like an actual anchor for the plot of this film or for the arc of the Charlie character. And the last thing that I'll say, which is kind of a nitpick, I'll be honest, and it also borders on spoilers, so I'm going to try to phrase my words carefully. When you have a film like this, I always find it odd when they have a series of kills that are set up, a bunch of kill sequences, and they don't give the lead bad guy the worst death, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like it's odd when he takes a lot more time or either has a lot more of an elaborate kill plan for somebody who's lower on the totem pole. Again, does it affect the movie? Probably not, but it's just something that I notice sometimes, and I'm like, why? If it was me doing this, that person would be getting the worst possible death. They would be getting the most intricate thing. They're getting the jigsaw trap. Everybody else, they're going to get off a little easier. But all in all, guys, this is a Sunday afternoon dad movie. You know, this is something that I don't think you need to rush out to the theaters to see, but if you check it out on streaming, I think most people that like these types of films will have a pretty good time with it. I think there's a lot here that is entertaining. I could just see a much tighter, much more entertaining version of the movie as I was watching it. So if you're a fan of this subgenre, give a guy a reason to go fuck people up and then go watch him fuck people up, check it out. Had a pretty good time with it. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, please click over here for all of my 2025 new release reviews. And I'm also going to put up here a review of Drop, which is another new release that came out this weekend. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.